This is the Balanced Breakdown, the show where restoration contractors come together to learn how to sell more, build faster, and scale confidently. Now let's break it down. Hey everybody, welcome to the Balanced Breakdown. I'm Josh Roseboom, co-founder of Spartan Claims. Today's guest is Aaron Pullen from Spartan Claims. He's a public adjuster out of Indianapolis area here. Has a wealth of knowledge that we're going to dig into, but before we do that, here's this.
All right, guys, here we go. We're going to review this message that we got from an adjuster, see if we can figure this out. So they're telling us in this message that our sheathing, the nominal measurement was 11/30 seconds. And since our measurement was bigger than 11/30 seconds, that it's actually 7/16, which is code compliant. So does anybody else feel like they got hit with a math question in this one?
Wait, so if the measurement is over 11/30 second, then how did it become 7/16?
So we're saying it's not 3/8 because the nominal thickness.
Must be 7/16.
Sorry.
I'm 6'1", but by that logic, my driver's license should say I'm 6'3".
Okay, Mr. 6'3", hang on a second. Let's slow down. So the nominal thickness and actual thickness aren't necessarily the same thing. You know, what the response is really saying is that the measurement we submitted appears to be compliant with code, which is a reasonable discussion.
All right, so what's the real issue then?
Well, the real issue is the last sentence. They're telling us that we didn't provide photos of the sheathing being replaced.
So they're actually saying that.
Well, what they're really saying is if we're arguing about thickness, they still don't have documentation showing which sheathing was actually removed and replaced.
So we all got distracted by the fraction.
Exactly, Nate. So the measurement argument that we all got into, it's not about the measurement, it's about the documentation that's missing. So there you have it. The most confusing part of that message may not be the most important part. The most important part is telling us about the documentation that's missing.
Hey, welcome back. I'm sitting here with Aaron Pullen, owner of Spartan Claims. He runs a successful public adjusting firm here out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and works some other places. Aaron, welcome to the show.
Hi. Good to see you again.
Absolutely. So tell me, man, what got you into adjusting in the first place?
Well, when I first started, before the insurance world, I was actually a sheriff's deputy at Marion County here in Indianapolis. And to make extra money, I sold motorcycles at a Harley shop here locally. And some guy walked in one day. He's another local legend on a rain day and was kicking tires and waiting for the rain to clear out and said, hey, I won't do the impression because if I give it away who it is. But he more or less said, hey, you know, we got to talking. And he said, hey, I like you. You have a good personality. You know how to talk to people. You want to come work for me? And I said, well, what do you do? And he said, oh, I do insurance. And I was like, ugh. Nobody wants to do insurance. And he's like, well, you know, it's not selling it. I'm just looking at properties and dealing with people and dealing with contractors. And he goes, I think you'd be good at it. And I didn't think anything else about it. He kind of left. And then I actually ended up running into him again on a different date. Same story, rain day, popped back in. He's like, hey, well, almost did the impression there. Hey, he's like, hey, you're still here, man. I still really think that you need to come work for me. And I was like, dude, I'm pretty happy. You know, I'm doing the sheriff's department thing, and I'm selling bikes, and I'm living life, and it's a good time, and I make pretty good money. And he had his daughter with him that time, and he's like, hey, almost did it again. I've known him for over 20 years, but brought his daughter over, and he's like, hey, show him your paycheck stub. And he did, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sign me up. Let's see what we can do. And that was over 20 years ago. And he ended up getting me certified. It was an independent adjusting firm and doing work for one of the big insurance companies. I don't know if I'm allowed to say names or anything like that. We'll just refer to them as Big Red. And we ended up getting certified. And then as soon as I got my certification, the hurricanes had just hit down in the south. It was Katrina, Rita, and Wilma. And then right after that, we had the big 06 Indianapolis hailstorm here. And then after that, it was, like Tropical Storm Faye and Hurricane Gustav and then Ike. And it just kind of one thing led to another, and I just got into doing 2-story and steep roof inspections, and then ultimately became one of like the senior guys and dealt with contractors. And next thing you know, here we are. That was a stint that ended back in 2013. Was when I left, and then decided I was kind of tired of the travel. My kids are getting a little bit older. Son was playing football, and then ultimately rugby. Daughter was in cheer, and I wanted to be involved with them. So I was like, I'm tired of traveling. Let's stay home, figure out what I can do. And back in 2013, the independent adjusting world was kind of fading out, and it wasn't what it used to be back in the glory days. And so it's like, hey, we'll do this and see what that does. And at the time, particularly here in central Indiana, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
So, and I had been approached by some other folks that I'm sure we're going to get into about some other avenues with supplementing and estimating and things like that I had met throughout the years. So it's like, screw it. We'll do this thing and see where it kind of goes.
So was that like was the family, the lifestyle, wanting to be at home more the main driving factor that you wanted to go into public adjusting versus being an independent?
Well, it was. That was one of the major driving factors. The other part was back in those times, back in that 2012, 2013, I started to notice a shift in the industry, especially on my side, being a single carrier independent adjuster and being, deployed for extended periods of time in one particular area. Got to know some of the corporate management for that insurance company, and was invited to some meetings for planning, and I wasn't really a fan of some of the topics that they were going down, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall that things were about to change. And that was honestly the other driving factor was, okay, now it's time to get out. When I first got in, it was kind of sold to me by the guy that brought me on and trained me that it was all about helping people and doing inspections. And then by the time I was leaving, it was more of we're just bean counting at this point and doing whatever we can to save money.
Yeah.
And with my background in law enforcement, that certainly played a part in my advocacy piece of it, and I couldn't figure out a better way to be an advocate than starting a public adjusting company. I knew and got to know so many contractors like your dad and your brother and even you, and up to that point here in Indiana, probably close to 2,000 different contractors that I'd made friends with. And I didn't want to go compete with them, so this was the obvious stop on that journey to say, okay, well, if I'm not going to compete with them, how can I help them?
Yeah.
And how can I still help the people that live, in the community at the same time? And that was kind of the nexus of where this kind of came from.
Yeah, when I first met you, the first time I met you, I was still working for my dad's company. You were working for Big Red.
Thank you.
As an independent. And I remember back then, because I was more of the craftsman. I didn't deal with the sales side. I didn't deal with the insurance companies. We were supplementing back then. It was kind of like the good old boy just picking up the phone. Hey, I need drip edge. I need valley liner. But we still wrote our estimates, right? And remember that experience of working with you on that file when you showed up. I basically handed you what I had, and you just went and looked at it, right? And it was, I think we came back with what I wanted. I was super happy with it because the damage was there. And you've been able to see both sides of the story. You've played for the carriers. You've done your own thing at Spartan here, being an advocate for the policyholder. What have you kind of seen change in the industry from what we call the glory days back then till now?
The biggest change is when I first got in, Xactimate was more of a concept than a construct. Yeah. They were coming out with it. I mean, we're talking about when I got in, it was Polaroids in an old shoebox that you would take a picture and then you shove the Polaroid in there, and then everything was hand sketched and hand measured. And I tell everybody, I went to a very public school, very low end public school here in Indiana, so I don't math good. So when they told me I had to do math, I was like, don't do the math. but got really good at geometry and learning how to hand calculate that. Well, then all of a sudden this program called Xactimate comes around. And we beta tested it because, again, one of the biggest insurance companies in the country, or if not the world, we were kind of the first one there. And we were playing with it, and this was when Xactimate, I think it was Xactimate version 24, maybe even 23. I can't remember the exact number. Didn't even have a sketch. There wasn't a sketch option in Xactimate back then. And we were putting in the variables, and then next thing I know, the word was coming down from the higher ups that, hey, this is how we're going to do things, opposed to back in the day, I'd go meet a contractor and you'd hand me, I used to joke and say, you could write that on a bar napkin or like a scrap piece of paper. And as the adjuster, our job was to look at it and go, okay, we determined coverage. It's got damage. Looks like a decent estimate from a dude that knows what he's doing. Here's a check. And that back in those days, I still had the authority to write checks. And we would settle claims in a driveway. It'd be an hour and a half ordeal from the time that we showed up to the time that the check was written and the claim was settled, and then you've got material being dropped the next day. Times were a lot better back then. But then Xactimate came around, and it was like, okay, now we've gone from judge and jury to executioner at the same time. So it's like now we have to dictate not only is there coverage, but also how much are we paying for that coverage? And then they went a little bit further too, back in the preferred service provider days, on who actually gets to do the work. And that was really, honestly, the beginning of the end. Yeah. In my professional opinion, that's when things started getting kind of weird. And it was like, okay, maybe we need to think about a different direction to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you hit on the fact that carriers, what'd you call it, judge, jury, and executioner.
Judge, jury, and executioner.
That they are they're trying to dictate the price and everything else. But what can a contractor do to help themselves out there in the early phases of a project? What do you see that contractors are doing that's successful versus others that are failing?
I mean, and I deal with, to this day, I deal with contractors on a daily basis. And in my career at Big Red, I did over 10,000 claims with them, and I've probably done close to over 20,000 as a public adjuster and as an appraiser. And I've seen contractors started at every different juncture in their journey. And everybody kind of has a different philosophy. And I see the guys that go out there and they just throw everything to the wall. Yeah. And it's like, bird poops on a roof, and they're like, oh, look, hail damage. And then they send it over to somebody like us and expect us to turn chicken poop into chicken salad. And then I've seen the other ones that, I mean, they'll go out and they'll see a hole blown in a roof, and the carrier's like, wear tear, that's pre-existing or something like that. And we get everything in between. And I don't really have an issue with either of those styles. Obviously, I'm a big fan of ethics, and if it's not damaged, they shouldn't be turning it in. But in the same breath, I mean, the carriers will often approve things that, in my opinion, shouldn't be approved. And we will tell them when we meet with them, I don't know what you're circling. I'm not circling that. And then we also see the other ones with the hole blown through the roof. Like, are you out of your freaking mind? Yeah. What are you looking at? So I do get the little bit of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks mentality. But for new contractors, the one thing I would suggest is don't fall in love with those claims. Yeah. And so many times, and so many different contractors I've dealt with in the past, they'll come in and they'll and I hate it. And you deal with contractors too on the supplementing side, and it drives me up a wall. They'll go, this is a home run. This should be easy, easy. I want it done, and I want it done in a week. Yeah, yesterday. And we kind of laugh at that point. We're just like, well, if it was easy, you should have been able to get it done. And then you're not just going to give me your garbage and expect me to turn it into a gourmet dinner. And those are the things that really drive me crazy. And we'll get some contractors that's their approach to it. And I'm at a point right now where I just kind of laugh. Where it's like, dude, it's not going to be successful. Yeah. That's not a good, I always say garbage in, garbage out. You give me garbage in, and they'll have one picture from Google Earth like in the stratosphere view and be like, you could see the damage, or what kind of shingle is that? I hate that one too.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, give me more to work on. And then they get mad when it takes 3 months or 4 months or whatever, because we have to go out there and get the photos, get the original insurance paperwork, get all the correspondence that they've had. The best thing I can suggest to a new contractor is get your stuff together. Good documentation.
Yeah.
Good stuff in, good stuff out. And don't send me a file and say, I have to have this done and I have to have it done at that period, because I think there's 184 insurance companies that write policies, at least in the state of Indiana. And that means there's about 500 different ways that claims get handled. So there's no set standard, and the expectation is unrealistic from a lot of new contractors, whether it's a new company or like some new sales guy or sales gal that comes in, and they have this weird perception because they heard one time while they're sitting at ABC that this can be done. There's no such thing as a magic bullet. There's no such thing as a magic process. And if you fall in love with that make-believe, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And the fact that you're trying to keep everything, also, you might have a company like us or even you guys, you only have one.
Yeah.
Keep your options open and don't fall in love with a specific third party. And I've seen like your other podcast before with other people that are like, have 2 or 3 PA firms, have 2 or 3 attorneys, have 2 or 3 appraisal firms, have other people in your network that you can deal with. And I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment. Yeah. We've never told anybody, like I still work with your dad, and I tell your dad, it's like, you don't have to use us, but if we're available and it's something that fits in our range, then great. Yeah. But if not, don't just take it and throw it in the trash can, because there probably is something there that you can make something out of.
Now, I've known you for a long time, and one thing that really stood out to me, now you do all kinds of work. You do commercial, you do large loss, you do residential, but you really took on the elephant in the room, which was the large volume residential claims that had issues. And that's something that we see PA firms start off with, maybe to get a reputation, and then it falls off. But that's something you've kind of held close to your chest, right? Close to your heart.
Yeah, we definitely, when we started the company back in 2013, our primary focus was residential, public adjusting and appraisal files. It wasn't even appraisal, because appraisal didn't exist in Indiana back then. But and that was because there were very few other folks in this market that were trying to do the PA thing. And the one thing that I heard, a very common denominator, was, well, if it's under 6 figures, we don't want to touch it. And the advocate in me was kind of like, well, you're going to have to bleep this, but that's kind of bullshit. Because those people need help as much, if not more, than the commercial folks do. And we very quickly became like everybody's dumping ground for everything. I mean, I've done single wide trailers, not that there's anything wrong with living in a single wide, for $2,200 claims for a roof.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we're working a file right now that's a $14 million file. We've done that and everything in between. But we kind of got in here, and when I don't know how much the world knows about our past and that thing, but once upon a time when we were business partners, we got integrated with a couple of CRM tools that I didn't have necessarily at the time. That at the time it was SIC, then turned into Balance, that were integrating in, and we kind of saw that and said, nobody is doing this.
Yeah.
Nobody is using a CRM on the PA side. And said, hey, I'm not going to name drop them because I'm not sponsored by them, but we still to that day use that same CRM.
Do you really?
I'm talking about the orange white one. You know which one I'm talking about.
I still have an account in there for legacy data.
Yeah,
so.
But we still to this day use that, and
awesome.
We've been able to modify it over time. They've been very good to us, and then we've also seen some other CRMs pop up that are kind of geared towards the PA and appraiser side. But yeah, that was the biggest part about it, because we were then able to take And I joked for a long time and said that we're like the Walmart of public adjusting claims. So we're not out there swinging for the fences. I mean, like the building we're in right now, we're not doing $200 million PA. But what I will do is we're doing 2,500 residential files a year.
That's awesome.
And we've been doing somewhere between about 1,400, 1,500 residential files on a slow year to up to 2,500 on a busy year. And we do that on a regular basis. And, like some of our folks, they have inventories of 70 files at a time.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the PAs that I know in our industry, they're cool with running like 10 at a time. And they're like, oh, I'm overwhelmed. Our guys got 90 and they're just pumping them out.
You hit on something a couple times here, and I do want to talk a little bit more about it for our audience. You mentioned being a dumping ground. How would you recommend a contractor look at working with the PA, or their best approach to working with the public adjuster?
The best approach to work with a PA, and this is probably going to ruffle some feathers, but ask any contractor that knows me.
I wouldn't ask anything less.
Yeah, which is kind of what I'm known for. Get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And check your ego at the door. I mean, when I started the company, I went in, and this again was back, in 2013. Not a lot of contractors were using CRMs, and we would go in, and they would have milk crates full of. Yeah, I know you are. They would have milk crates full of just manila folders of dead files, and I'd be like, just let me do file reviews on those. Let's see if it's a valid thing. Like if we had all shakes or Big Red or another insurance company that was very notorious at the time. Sorry, I'm trying not to get sued here. Some other insurance company that was really notorious at the time for not approving files, and they would approve 340 shingles on a roof. And I'd go into a contractor, and he'd just have that in a folder somewhere, dead file, dead wood.
Can't do anything
We're just
with it.
waiting to shred it for the shredded people to come by. Be like, no, get out of your own ego, get out of your own way. And at least it doesn't cost anything. We never charge to review files or anything. Most public adjusters and appraisers shouldn't, staring at you, audience, shouldn't, charge to review files. Probably going to piss people off with that one too. But it's hard for a contractor to be like, well, this is proprietary. These are all files that I got from this little segment of town or whatever. It's like, dude, you don't own that.
Right.
Get out of the way. It's a file that you're not making any money off of now. These are people that need help, and the only thing between them and help is you.
Yeah.
Captain contractor, that you're in the way. And the what I've experienced is the sooner that contractors realize get out of your own way, the better it's going to work. And then at the end of the day, you have to realize too, you're basically giving somebody something to give you essentially free money back. I mean, you give it over to somebody that's either a supplementer or a PA or an appraiser, that file is dead in your mind. Go away. And then at some point, months down the road, you're going to get a phone call and be like, hey, remember that file? Yeah. It's paid for now. There's a check in the mail. Pay my bill.
Yeah, I mean, contractors look at it as giving the file to a public adjuster when honestly it's just, hey, here's what I was able to do. I can't take it any further. Here's a resource for you to the policyholder, right? Because you guys work directly with the policyholder, not the contractor.
Right.
As far as like the responsibilities in that scenario, what is the contractor really responsible for doing before it comes to you?
Before it comes to us, the contractor needs to be responsible for creating a good file. I mean, documentation. I go into sales meetings on a regular basis and ask anybody that knows me, and I mean, you know me. I always tell everybody in the world's got one of these little things on them right now, these little things called cell phones. Digital photos don't cost anything.
Right.
Take all the photos, like all the photos. It's actually laughable how many times I'll get a file and it'll be one picture from either the sidewalk or I call him Ziggy, the Ziggy contractors, because remember the old cartoon Ziggy where he just has his nose sticking up over the gutter?
Yeah.
And they're at the gutter line, they just take one picture up the roof. Or I get 37,000 photos of one hail hit this close at this angle and that angle. They're like, oh, the thing smoked. It's like, dude, that's one hail.
Well, that hit is smoked.
That one hit is obliterated. Congratulations. But yeah, all the photos, all the documents from the insurance company. I mean, we ask for that every single file. If you ever called me, like if you called me today and said, hey, I need you to take a look at a file, the very first question I'm ever going to ask anybody, who's the insurance company?
Yeah.
And if you don't know the answer to that, hang up the phone.
Yeah.
If you don't even know the insurance company, hang up.
Yeah.
Better off, give me the paperwork. Say, well, what did they pay for, or what are they denying it on the basis of? Are they calling it wear tear? Are they calling it a bad data loss? Are they calling it pre-existing?
Their stance.
I mean, is it excluded from the policy? I get them all the time, especially on metal, because cosmetic metal's a new thing. Just got one the other day. Cosmetic metal thing smoked.
Can't do
It's
that.
excluded.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can find a lot of things, but policy ain't one of them.
Gets back to that magic wand situation, right?
Sorry, I didn't go to Hogwarts. I went to Ben Davis High School, so I'm not really good with the magic wand. I can't Avada Kedavra that thing. So sorry.
So, for our contractors watching this, if there was one thing you want them to walk away with from this episode, one thing you want them to take away from it, what would that be?
Well, it'd be more of a package kind of a deal. Is
Okay.
number one, don't get too big for your britches, and that's I've seen contractors, and some of them are mutual people that we know, get very big very quick.
Okay.
And just because you had an idea as a contractor that you were going to go start a roofing company, and you make very good money. You make very good money in that industry. You can make a boatload of money. But that's going to be dependent on the storm. It's going to depend on location. And that doesn't mean if you make X amount of dollars in 1 year, don't go spend 4 times that thinking that that's going to be an every year thing. And some of the best owners of these contractor companies that I know, they're at work every single day.
Yeah.
They do not check out. And I've seen so many owners, they think that once they make a bunch of money, they can go check out and be, playboy or playgirl millionaire, and take off 4 months and go to Honduras, or, Barbados.
Yeah.
Not going to touch that one. But, you don't get to do that. You got to stay checked in. And then also, the other thing that I see a lot of contractors, as recently as like last week, they complain about the fees for people like us.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's too expensive. And I'm sure you run into this too on the supplementing side. But you're asking a company to go out there and do a job that you cannot do.
Yeah.
And to make you more money than you had before. Yeah, it's probably not as fast as you want it done. But at the end of the day, I always tell everybody the thing I hear about, well, it's got to be this margin. And if it's not that percentage, we don't even want the job and we're not going to pay your bill. Like, well, that margin is bigger than the margin you had before you gave it to me.
Yeah.
Even after paying a fee on our job, what's the problem with that? And don't get an overinflated sense of self-worth and self-ego, because especially in the contracting world, the number's probably wrong now. It's been a while since I've checked, but there were something like 27,000 contractors, restoration contractors in the United States. You ain't special. Somebody else is going to do it too, and you're gonna lose that out. And I get a lot of egos that I deal with on a regular basis. Hell, I'm probably one of them. But it comes with territory.
Well, man, it's been great having you on the show. Honestly, you're a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time, so it's kind of a blessing to get you on here, man. We could definitely make this a 5-episode series with us talking war stories and stuff.
We could do this for like 2 weeks straight. So,
but definitely appreciate having you on here, man.
No, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. So, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this show, click the like and subscribe button below. If you'd like to find out more about Spartan Claims, there'll be a link in the description. Thanks for joining. We'll see you on the next one.